You hear it before you see it. A steak touches a blazing hot pan and answers with a loud, confident sizzle. Bread slides into the oven, and minutes later the smell begins drifting through the house. Potatoes slowly turn from pale to golden. Coffee beans darken inside a roaster until the air fills with an aroma recognized around the world. Different foods, different kitchens, but they're all telling the same story. Heat isn't simply cooking them. It's creating entirely new flavors. Think about the foods people crave most. Freshly baked bread. Roasted potatoes. Toasted marshmallows. Grilled vegetables. Seared meat. They're rarely loved because they're pale. We instinctively chase the golden edges, the crisp crust, the caramel-colored surfaces. Somewhere along the way, our brains learned that brown often means flavor. For centuries, cooks noticed this transformation long before anyone understood why it happened. They learned through experience that patience mattered. Leave onions in the pan long enough, and they become sweet. Roast vegetables instead of boiling them, and they develop deeper flavor. Sear meat before braising it, and the finished dish tastes richer. Modern science eventually gave this transformation a name, the Maillard reaction. Despite the intimidating name, the idea is surprisingly simple. When proteins and natural sugars meet high heat, they begin reacting with each other. Instead of producing just one new flavor, they create hundreds of entirely new aroma compounds. That's why brown food doesn't simply taste stronger, it tastes more complex. This is also why boiling and roasting produce completely different results. Water limits temperature to around its boiling point, which is usually too low for significant browning. Inside a hot oven or on a dry pan, temperatures climb much higher, allowing those reactions to accelerate. One method cooks food. The other transforms it. Moisture is one of browning's biggest enemies. Before food can brown, surface water must evaporate. As long as that moisture remains, much of the heat is spent drying the food instead of building flavor. That's why chefs often pat steaks dry chicken skin thoroughly, or avoid washing mushrooms immediately before cooking. Now imagine dropping 6 cold chicken breasts into one small frying pan. The sizzling quickly fades, liquid begins pooling underneath, and instead of browning, the meat starts steaming. This is one of the most common mistakes home cooks make. A crowded pan doesn't just reduce color, it steals flavor before it has a chance to develop. The opposite is just as satisfying to watch. Give each ingredient enough space, keep the pan properly heated, and something remarkable happens. Moisture escapes quickly, the surface dries, and a beautiful crust begins forming. That crisp exterior isn't decoration. It's where countless new flavor molecules are being created. People often confuse the Maillard reaction with caramelization, but they're not the same thing. Caramelization happens when sugars alone are heated until they break apart and form new compounds. It's what gives caramel its rich flavor and roasted onions much of their sweetness. The Maillard reaction, on the other hand, depends on both proteins and sugars working together. You can find these reactions almost everywhere. Bread develops a crisp crust while baking. Coffee beans become aromatic during roasting. Cocoa beans transform before becoming chocolate. Malted barley changes during brewing. Even roasted nuts owe much of their complexity to browning. Once you recognize the pattern, you'll start seeing it in almost every kitchen. Fat quietly plays an important supporting role here. A thin layer of oil improves contact between food and the hot pan, helping heat spread more evenly across the surface. That's one reason butter, olive oil, and other cooking fats are so valuable. They're not only carrying flavor, they're helping create it. Restaurant kitchens seem to achieve beautiful browning almost effortlessly, but the secret isn't mystery, it's preparation. Ingredients are dried, pans are thoroughly preheated, and cooks resist the temptation to move food too early. That patience allows the crust to develop naturally before the food is turned. Here's a simple experiment to try at home. Toast 2 slices of bread. Remove one while it's still pale. Let the other become deeply golden, but not burnt. Compare them side by side. The darker slice doesn't simply taste crunchier. It offers aromas that weren't present before the toaster ever switched on. Of course, there's a limit. Browning builds flavor. Burning destroys it. Push heat too far, and those pleasant aromas give way to bitterness and smoke. Great cooking often lives in that narrow space between pale and burnt, a place where patience matters just as much as temperature. Every golden crust tells the same story. A loaf of bread. A roasted potato. A grilled mushroom. A perfectly seared steak. They're all proof that heat can do far more than cook food, it can reinvent it. The next time you hear that first sizzle or smell bread beginning to brown in the oven, you'll know something remarkable is happening. Hundreds of tiny chemical reactions are quietly building the flavors we remember long after the meal is over. Because in cooking, some of the most extraordinary ingredients aren't ingredients at all. Sometimes it's simply heat used well.